Okay, there we go. So last time we went through the big intro and the onboarding stuff. Today we'll just go through more of the program stuff so that you guys have an understanding of how we handle this moving forward. Okay, I'm not as pumped as last time, but I'll try be more energetic as we keep going. It has been slightly a long day, but we'll see how it goes. Okay, so the first aspect of chapter that we have to talk about is the self-paced learning bit of chapter. So we build our learning through our learning management system, and you guys will have a chance to look at this. I'll take you guys through it very, very quickly. And this is whereby we curate content for you that you can access anytime you want to learn this particular skill. So the content will be curated to you based on the things you need to cover. So for you guys, you will have courses dripped on the following. A course on React front-end development. This will be guided, so you'll have it like structured in terms of basics, advanced, JSX, components, and all that kind of stuff. Also, AWS cloud computing as well will be content you have on that. All these are content. All these two are content that we've pegged as guided, because we'll tend to go through together as we work through clones on the React side or as we work through deployments on the AWS side. So both of these ones will have workshops running concurrently with them. For example, October you'll be working on React, so you'll have content for React on the LMS, but you'll also have the sort of workshops, and I'll talk about the structure of our workshops as we try to make our workshops as engaging as possible for everyone. Okay, so those are the first two main things. The third thing that will you'll have content access to will be career dev and tech interview module. These are not things we'll go through on a typical workshop. This is just a resource for you to go and work on your own self. And the reason why you've said it's more of a checklist thing is because there'll be submissions you'll be required to make on this career dev thing from time to time, and Jesse will be sending you guys updates. So some things would be once resumes are reviewed, there'll be a module talking about resumes. So you just need to update resumes. And so long as we have a checklist on how far your career profile is with chapter, that will just give us confidence that you've been able to go through this. Keep in mind, you're also trying to get HR professionals to come and do some tech interviews with you just for additional preparations as we seek more employer partners where we can start shouting you guys to. So the career dev module is more of a checklist thing, and it's a resource for you to be able to fulfill your career checklist with us at Chapter. And this will be everything from your resume to your portfolio to can you handle a tech interview, right? So that might be like you do a tech interview with a random HR guy, or we give you like algorithm challenges as well. Yeah, so it's just going to be the typical things that people ask through on a typical job application up to the end. So it's going to be a career dev checklist, but you'll have resources on this module. So that for anything on the checklist, you know where to refer to. And then the two other things that you'll have access to as soon as you complete AWS computing that you'll get to do by yourself however you want, and will be fully self-paced, will be content on algorithms and data structures. I highly recommend you guys, because as you do more tech interviews, they'll be asking you more questions on algorithms and data structures. So we will curate content for you guys so that even up as you graduate, you'll have access to this for up to 12 months after you complete. So that's the main goal, to just give you guys that sort of data access at any given point that you can come in and review and learn through that. And the second thing is also AWS certification preparation as well. All these are resources you have to pay for online, but we'll also curate for you guys. Within Chapter, you won't have to pay for this resource because you're already part of the program. So we'll curate that resource for you on the LMS so that you can keep preparing for your certification from January to June whenever you want to do that certification thing. So these will be the extra sort of benefits we offer that are not necessarily pegged to workshops that you can follow up on after you finish the program. Cool. Any questions on that so far? Okay, so you will get an LMS invite. You've already got an LMS invite. So what you're doing tonight I'll be dripping the first sort of course content for React. And this is course content that I recommend you go through this week fully, because how we'll be handling React we'll be learning React by building clones. So we want you to be very, very familiar with the basics, at least this week, if you're not familiar with the basics. So tonight we'll be dripping content on React. That means like from tomorrow morning up until Sunday, you'll be able to go through different topics, right? Go through the different videos we have there, the different sort of guides as well. We'll add additional resources on Slack as well, just to guide you. And the goal is that next week, as you're starting on clones, you'll at least have the React basics so that you're not starting from the base scratch when you're building the React clones each and every single week. Okay. Three things. I've talked about the additional resources that you'll get on the Slack channel, and that's why it's essential that you accept my invite to the private Slack channel I've invited you to. And then item number 4 is um, if you're stuck on anything across the entire program, that's October, November, and December, you can book appointments with technical mentors on the LMS. I'll talk through this on where you can see this on the LMS. And finally is you can view workshop recordings for all guided workshops, right? So all guided workshops we have, this will mostly be the Monday workshops that we talk through projects or we talk through certain content aspects. They'll be recorded and you'll be able to follow up on them on the LMS as well, so that you're able to structure up that. So this is the last onboarding call. I just want you guys to be familiar with that. So given that, I just want to take in questions before I go through and show you how the LMS looks like. Any questions, guys? I want you to guys to ask me as many questions as possible. Okay. Now let's go ahead and look at the LMS so that you see where you can access all this starting from today night or tomorrow. Most of you will just wake up to it. Cool. So I'll just log on to mine. Okay. So on this LMS, you'll see key sort of aspects, my courses, my workshops, my appointments, whatever that is. So to access the dripped content that you're talking about that you guys have access to, you'll be coming to the My Courses module. And here you'll be seeing different courses for you guys. I think on this slide, I've already stipulated the type of courses you guys expect to be able to view there, with React and AWS being the ones that are very, very key for us in the meantime. So you'll first of all get React content this week. You'll get AWS content by end of month. And these are other additional resources that will make sure you have access to, that will keep dripping to you. So when you get to your courses tab, you'll just choose whatever course you're doing, and you'll be able to follow up on it. So a good example, this is not what you expect to get because you guys are not involved in Python programming. So let's imagine this is the React course. You'll be able to get into your React course, and you'll be able to follow up on the lessons, which will be broken down into topics as well. So a good example is Introduction to Python. This could be Introduction to React. I'm not enrolled to that because I'm not part of your group, but we'll drip it tonight. So keep that in mind. And you can click on your lessons and you can start following up on the topics. So the first topic is going to be Elements of Python. And when I click on that topic, I'll be able to start getting my video there on Elements of Python, so I can play that and just have fun with it. Okay. So you see that. So you have videos and you're able to go from topic to topic. So I finish that video, I can go to the next one. So not all topics are videos. Some of them are actually text content as well. It does not matter. I'm just showing you that our LMS is easy to navigate, and any content you post on the LMS should be easy for you to walk through and learn in your own time, because we use this as the guiding factor behind the program. So keep that in mind, and you'll be taken through sort of the essentials for React, for AWS, and the other sort of courses will be more of like guides for you. And all of them will have a similar structure and you'll be able to see them. One thing that might be there is you guys might be getting like quizzes after particular lessons, which you recommend you also work on as well, because it's able to test the concepts you've learned on that particular lesson. So whenever you see a quiz at the end of a series of topics, I do recommend that you get to cover it. Keep in mind that this LMS is fully gamified. So for every topic you complete, you get points. For every lesson you complete, you get points as well. And for every quiz you complete, you get points based on your score. So this is what will count to the end leaderboard. And we just want to create like healthy competition. So a good example here, this is a quiz that requires me to code first of all. So write a program to prompt the user for hour rates and all that kind of. This is a very basic Python project. So I could go ahead and code my stuff like, yeah, so we want hours is equal to something, right? And then we want rate is equal to something. And so I just want to output a code that does in hours. So all I want to do is just print hour times rate, at least I hope. Cool. So write a program that prompts blah 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 compute gross pay. Yeah, that's fine. So if my hour is 35 and my rate is 2.75, if I do print that, it's going to be okay. The pay should be 96.75. So if I run this, where's the run button? Okay, I think I can just shift enter. Okay. Okay. Let's see this run. There we go. If I run that, it should give me a good answer, 96.25, and then I can start my quiz. Blah blah blah. Oh my god, this is not supposed to be here. So I'll just go ahead and build that. Not a big problem, but you guys get the gist. You guys will be having quizzes at the end of the sort of topics. It's going to be randomly there, and that's just a way to test the content you already have. I have a feeling this is a question misplaced. I'll go ahead and fix that because it's not supposed to be there. It's supposed to be something related to this problem. Anyways, you guys get the gist. So pretty much all sort of lessons or courses will look like this, broken down into lessons and broken down into topics with a quiz here and there just to test out your knowledge. Okay, that's the first aspect. And here I can get back to my dashboard. Okay, second aspect of your dashboard is you get to access your workshops. So workshops are any sort of guided workshops that you walk through with TMs that are recorded. We'll be uploading them on YouTube. It's going to be a private sort of YouTube upload. But what we do is we make sure we give you access over here, right? And you guys can be able to access them all through here. So a good example is there's people learning Python, so you can see the recordings are here. I have access to all of them. You guys might have access to only one. There's people learning machine learning. You can have the access. You can see the access here. And then there's people doing React labs, which will tend to be you guys, and you can see the recordings here. So here you can be able to track all the workshops that have gone through. Like these people had workshop A, workshop B, workshop 2A, B, and C. So it's all good. So I can click on anything from the first workshop to anything if you want to follow up on any sort of content that was covered by the TMs or any sort of challenges that you guys are talking through. So this is where to access all those recordings. So I can go back to my dashboard to go to the next step, or I can just come out here. Let me just go back to my dashboard so that you guys understand it. You can also use the student navigation here for easy access through anything. Yeah, if you're stuck on anything, you can book appointments. You can book appointments using this module. So book appointments. Very, very quickly. And here, based on the type of appointment you want, you'll be able to see it. Most of you guys, when you're doing React, the sort of appointment you'll be relying on will be the front-end dev appointments, which involve HTML, CSS, JavaScript, Figma, WordPress, or React.js. So that's a lot of the things you'll be working on. When you guys get to AWS Cloud Computing, we'll add an appointment sort of link for cloud computing. Booking appointments is very, very easy. You just click on that link and you're forwarded to our tool over here. Supposed to take you straight up to that appointment. I think it's a front-end dev appointments very, very quickly, and you can choose who you want to drive that appointment for you. So this could be Cabral on this front, and you can go ahead and choose an appointment time, whichever is available on the dates that are there stipulated for each and every single person. Okay. The final thing I want to go through will be the interesting bit about our LMS is we have a leaderboard. So you do get points for all sorts of things that you're able to work on over here. Here's the last thing I'll go through. So we'll have the overall leaderboard with all your points, and you'll see overall learners as well. We're still improving this, but it's just an incentive to get you guys to be working through on the LMS as much as possible so that you follow up on the curated content as much as you can. So that's it on the LMS, nothing much. I think the big idea is I want you to guys to understand that you can book appointments with TMs whenever you're stuck on anything. The second thing I want you guys to be versed with is that you can view workshop recordings on the LMS as well. And the third thing I want you guys to be versed with is that you will have access to curated courses or content on the learning management system, which you expect you guys to be learning on your own time so that you don't get stuck whenever we are doing workshops or whenever we are supposed to work on clones in the first place. Okay, now, second thing now that we have to go through here would be the idea of stand-ups and weekly projects. Okay, so because this is supposed to be more of a student-driven sort of program, stand-ups are very essential for us. So every Monday to Thursday, we'll have a daily stand-up from 9 p.m. to 9:15 p.m. on Slack, where you get to share the following. So this will only start from Thursday. No, actually, we'll start this from next week. So we'll give you this week as a grace period. So some of the things you'll be sharing during stand-ups will be what new thing have you learned that particular day? It could be something you learned on the LMS or with any additional resources you've had. So because every week you're working on a clone project, you'll also be sharing what challenges did you face when working on this particular project. And the third thing will be how are you able to solve this challenge, right? Were you able to work through Stack Overflow to find a solution? Did you chat with any of your peers to see what you can do? Were you able to find a new resource that was able to allow you to solve this kind of stuff? And this is just a way of creating checkpoints and making sure that all of us are active with the content at any given point, whether we are building clones or whether we are going through whatever sort of resources have been shared by the chapter team on the LMS. Okay. Second thing is every week we'll be working on a new React clone or project to be explained on Monday. So at the beginning of every week on the Monday workshop, we'll be working on a project or a React clone, whichever it is, that will be explained on the Monday workshop. And the goal is you want to complete that by the end of that week. So that's Sunday that week. So projects will either be individual or in groups. This will also be communicated on that Monday workshop. So for group projects, teams will be paired and present to each other on their progress. These are things we'll do on the Thursday workshop. I'll talk about this. And for individual projects as well, you'll be grouped with two other people who you'd get to present to on your progress. So it's a way of pairing you guys in sort of peer sort of groups so that you can be able to chat more frequently with each other and support each other as you're working through projects. And even go through breakout sessions where you're able to keep each other accountable on the milestones behind each and every single project. Once again, we'll get the group of this as soon as we start working on the clones next week. But it's just nice that you get to know this as early as now. Okay. Now, for the live workshops, this is how we'll structure the live workshops on our side. So on Mondays, you'll have a guided workshop to take you through key concepts and what you're expected to build that particular week. Very essential stuff. So it will take you through key concepts. So it could either be we're going through a particular project live, or we're going through particular concepts that we think will be a challenge, or we are saying that these are the easy resources and this is where you can learn more from them. And then we also go through the project overview and the clone you'll be working on that week, or the project you'll be expected to build that week. So the Monday session will tend to be very guided sessions where you'll have a TM with you just to take you through all this kind of stuff. Okay, for Tuesdays, let me not talk about Tuesdays for now, but the big idea for Tuesdays, and it depends with what you guys decide after this, is you will have breakout sessions where you meet with your group members or peers for individual projects to talk through your project milestones across the week. So the big idea is on Monday, you have this sort of guided workshop. And on Tuesday, you're supposed to start on your clone or your project. And you have all the content and guides on the sort of website as well. And so what you're saying here is on the Tuesday workshop, we have a short breakout session, about 30 minutes, maximum 45 minutes, where if it's individual, you work with your three other peers and you give each other like milestones, like how am I breaking down this project? What do I expect to finish on Wednesday, on Thursday, on Friday, on Saturday, until I make the submission on Sunday? So it's just more of like a Scrum meeting for your project, right? So that you guys can, so that your peers can know your milestones and how you expect to do it, so that they can keep you accountable, because you'll be working with your peers a lot on the Thursday workshop to see whether you're hitting your milestones or not. So very key thing, because you want to use the power of peers to learn from them. You want to use the resource of the TMs as well to learn from them. And you also want to have an accountability structure, which is best done through this sort of peer programming or pair programming way. Not really pair programming. It's more of like peer collaboration aspect. Okay, but this one I've put in italics because I want your feedback so that we decide. Is it essential that we talk through milestones on Tuesday, or would you guys prefer that we have a career development session where we go through topics such as resumes or we go through topics such as LinkedIn? I think I'll pose this question to you guys right after this. But the one that we don't have an option is on Thursdays. Now we'll have a student-driven session where you get to report your halfway milestones as possible. So TMs will be coming onto each and every single breakout session. So you'll also be working on what you've learned so far as you're building your clone, what problem you encountered and how you solved it as you're building your clone, and then what milestones have you already hit on that project and which ones are you yet to hit. And the goal for us is by the time Thursday reaches, you should have already done at least half of that clone or half of that project. And that's the big idea behind this. Okay, so let me open it up for questions before I run a poll on what you guys would prefer for the Tuesday sessions. Okay, so go ahead. Anyone with a question before I open up the forum for discussing what you guys would prefer on a Tuesday session, or how you'd prefer we structure live workshops if you think there's a structure that might be more superior to what you're trying to present to you at the moment. Okay, let me get questions. Okay, no question. So let me ask, what would you guys rather do on Tuesday? Would you want to go to breakout sessions with your peers and discuss milestones for like 30 minutes in groups of 3? Or would you guys prefer that we add career dev sessions on Tuesdays, where you go through a 1 hour workshop covering a particular career dev concept? Anyone wants to contribute, you can drop the comment here. Kelvin, that I think this is no, we can't do that necessarily. I think it's uh, up to you to just make sure you can access content and at the same time that you'll be able to access workshops in the first place. But if you think you're going to struggle with the breakout sessions, okay, Robert is saying career dev. If you think you're struggling with bundles, I think it's better if we communicate. For the guided workshops, it will have to be Google Meet. There's no two ways about that. But if bundles are an issue for the breakout sessions, you guys can even have a WhatsApp call if you talk within your peer group as well. So that could be a nice way to save on that. But for any guided sessions or the breakout sessions on Thursdays, it will have to be on Google. I think that question's answered. Robert, you're saying you'd rather career dev. Let me hear what the rest of you guys are thinking about. Okay, I think Charles, you have a very, very clear point. Can we include GraphQL to the program? Very, very nice suggestion. Yes, I'll note that down. Thank you very much for including that. Cool. I think GraphQL, REST APIs, right, are things that we need to recover. I know you guys might be going through a lot of Firebase as well as you're working on React clones. Very, very key. So it sounds like the general consensus for you guys is to go the career dev route. At least I can see Robert and Gitari. This is what I'll do. Keep typing what you'd rather do, and then at the end of this call, I'll count those comments, and then I'll tell you what you've decided. So keep typing down what you'd rather do. Make sure you have your input, unless you just don't care. And then at the end of this session, I'll be able to communicate what we'd be doing for that Tuesday session. So far, so good. Career Dev is on the lead, and I'll do that final calculation at the end. Okay. Awesome. So here's the minimal program calendar. For us is we want to clear this by December. So that's our big target over here, because you guys already have a developer background. You're already working with employer networks, and we just want to fine tune whatever sort of skills we want to fine tune. If you have suggestions on additional things that you'd want us to cover, like Charles is suggesting GraphQL, please keep suggesting that to us. But so far, what we are sure of is on October, we want to clear up with React front-end dev, right? So it's going to be mostly React front-end based. So you learn JSX, you learn React components as well, you learn a bit of Redux as well, all that kind of stuff. Because a lot of your React projects will involve Firebase, you'll see us using that as well. and you might be using REST APIs in the process. Cool. In November, that's when you get to AWS Cloud, and you'll be learning not only AWS Cloud, but how to deploy our apps on different sort of architectures. This could either be something like Cloudflare pages, how to work with serverless functions, right? How you can deploy to Heroku, how you can deploy to cPanel. So it's going to be focused on app deployment as well as AWS Cloud. Very, very essential. And I think it is during this November that we can add in any additional concepts that you guys think we need to cover, such as GraphQL or any sort of this emerging skills that you think would be a nice thing to cover in a particular week that we can walk through a project. Okay, so keep suggesting. I think we want to keep improving the program as well. So having that sort of open discussion with you guys allows us to improve this even better. Okay, from December, we'll then have like resources on tech interviews and certification prep added to the LMS, and you can start going through that by yourself. So we're not really going to be having workshops here. We'll give you guys just some random capstone to kind of cap off all this. But what we want to make sure is that you guys have curated resources on tech interviews and certification prep. Tech interviews will tend to be algorithms and data structured content just to get you ready for any sort of technical interviews. And certification prep will be the typical sort of topics and questions that you expect if you're doing a cloud computing exam, such as the AWS developer certification as well. So from December, we'll start adding resources of this sort to the LMS. Now, that's why we're saying the whole goal is to clear up this thing by December, so that from January to June, if you don't have a job, you're just still on your job sourcing grace period. So all you're doing is just applying for more jobs. Once again, we say that grace period is up to 6 months. Doing that, you keep doing interviews, you keep, it's also a chance for you to go ahead and do a certification exam as soon as you feel you're comfortable in the certification prep. For those of you who already have jobs, it's going to be well and good, so you'll really not be participating as much, but it does not mean you won't have access to the resources here. So this is going to be more of like a growth chance for you. If you don't have a job, we'll be reaching out to see how far you are with applications or how far we are with building your profile and sending out your profile to other employers. If you already have a job, I think we'll communicate the structure as soon as you get a job. Not a big problem there. So there's just the maximum grace period aspect. And the goal for us is to make sure we are pushing as many of you to jobs by June next year, but we are starting as early as now. Ideally is to make sure most of us have job offers before February, but for anyone who delays all through, I think June is the final thing because that's when the contract grace period ends. And also a very good thing from January is you guys will also have the additional option to participate in our blockchain program, which we can talk through as well. What you have with the blockchain program is going to be an Ethereum development program. We're still structuring this. So as soon as we have communication on this, that's why I'm having it as red. Any of you guys who's part of this program can have the option to participate in that as soon as that communication is sent out. And we'll make sure that all this is communicated on Slack. Okay, so let me take in questions. Things to remember. LMS I've covered. Second thing to remember is the whole idea of a daily stand-up from 9 p.m. to 9:15 every day. Please reply on the thread. I'll explain what replying on the thread is on Slack, please, because we don't want to clutter our Slack. So when someone says daily stand-up, you reply to that message that says daily stand-up, and that's where you post your daily stand-up. That's the thing I talked about as well. And we also say that every week we'll be working on a clone or a project. For React One, it's going to be more of clones. For AWS and the likes, it's going to be more of a project. So it's going to be more of a deployment sort of challenge. Let's keep that in mind. So I'll also underline that. And then I talked about how we'll structure our live workshops, where on Monday we have a guided workshop, right? On Tuesday, we are running a poll on what you want to do over here. And then on Thursday, we have a student-driven session where you get to report on your halfway milestones. This is a chance where if you really have a problem, you can learn from your peers, and TMs will also be joining in, so you can ask your questions to TMs who are already part of that session as well. So yeah, so the Thursday session is going to be more student-driven with TMs participating, and here I'm waiting for the poll to come through. And then I gave you an overview of the program calendar. So this October, we are focused on React. November will be focused on cloud computing and deployments. And then from December up until June, it's going to be you have all these LMS resources and you can learn as you want. But the big idea is we want you guys to either be preparing for job interviews by learning this, or either be preparing for a certification exam by making sure you go through the certification prep resources. Cool. And you'll also have options to participate in our blockchain program once that communication comes through. Okay. Let me take in questions before I close off this aspect. Okay, so once again, keep in mind, hiring partners will hire people of different profiles based on whichever tech stack they use in their organization. And that's why it's okay for you guys to have very, very different backgrounds. Some of you guys are coming from a Python background. Some of you guys are coming from a Java background, as I can see on that question over there. And some of you guys, yeah, you're all over the place, right? It does not matter. It does not matter how you do your backend at the end of the day. The reason we're teaching you React is because of the popularity and the sort of opportunities you get by learning React. And also the fact that anyone who's done any aspect of web development before, at least you understand JavaScript. So the big idea is we want to bring you guys all together by making sure we have one standard skill in the name of React that we all can be familiar with, so that for any sort of jobs, because React is very popular in the job market right now, it expands your options. So you could either be a Java backend developer, but you have the extra sort of learning and skills in React. It just expands opportunities for you. And also that cloud aspect also expands opportunities for you. So hiring partners will not necessarily care that you come from a specific background because they have different tech stacks. But what you're trying to do is you're trying to equip you with skills that we think are very, very on demand of the job market, so that you can also improve as you're part of this program. Okay, awesome. So, okay, this is a very good one. I don't see AWS listed in almost all tech job adverts. Would you give a valid reason why you should train AWS as opposed to GraphQL or TypeScript or MongoDB or SQL? I think if you're a backend developer, you already know MongoDB, you already know a bit of SQL. I think that's the standard, and we'll keep checking your profiles to see what sort of angles you have. Charles, I'd love to understand your background in particular. But if you're coming here with a Python background, you've probably already done Django. And you're doing Django, you know how to integrate Django with MongoDB or a MySQL database. And this applies for any other sort of language or framework you've used for your backend development. We do not want to focus on backend development because most of you guys already are advanced devs. And if you do not have backend dev experience, we still don't want to focus on that because by giving you React, you can still get front-end dev jobs even without that sort of backend experience. And we just want to take you to the next level. So that's the first thing. We expect you to already be familiar with databases and sort of backend framework if you're a backend developer. If you're a front-end developer, it does not matter. Just learn React with us and we'll go through REST APIs, and I'm thinking about GraphQL as well. But your question about AWS is very, very valid. AWS is not being advertised in a lot of tech job adverts. You could be right, right? But AWS is very, very on demand in the job space. A lot of the companies you work with will tend to deploy their resources on AWS. And probably you're looking at very, very entry level jobs, and that's why you're not seeing AWS listed more often. But as you start seeing more, slightly less entry level jobs, you start seeing AWS becoming more of a requirement, right? Because you're working with it more. We just want to make sure that you guys are able to deploy to the cloud because the cloud is where the market is with any big company out there. And any skill you're asking you guys to learn, we've done a job scraper on it. So we do understand the demand that goes down for it. So keep that in mind as well. So feel free to share with me what are these jobs, right? Or what platform you're working with where you've never seen AWS being listed. But I can trust you that as soon as you start getting more senior in your career, it's very, very hard to start avoiding the cloud unless you're working for a very big corporation where your sort of input is this sort of minute thing. right? That you only push to GitHub and there's like sort of DevOps engineer that works through it. For us, is we want to expand opportunities, and AWS is almost a needed thing. The second thing on why we do cloud computing is because all certification exams do like are based on a cloud. When you think about it, all top certification exams, whether you're doing the AWS exam or you're doing the Microsoft Azure exam, they'll be based on their individual clouds because yeah, so keep that in mind. So it's very hard to work on a top industry certification if you're not familiar with that particular cloud platform. So I want you to also keep that in mind. Thank you, Kelvin, for doubling down. AWS is a very, very key skill for developers to learn. Let me just say, not AWS, but cloud in general is key because you use it a lot. And AWS is the most popular cloud platform at the moment. Okay, awesome. Now, let's start wrapping up right now, very, very quickly. So let's talk about what you're working on this week. Last week was more of onboarding. This week is more of like getting familiar with it. So we've said tonight we are pushing the React content to all of you guys. So what you need to start doing is start following the curated React resources and make sure you're familiar with the basics before the Monday workshop next week. You'll get invites to all these workshops as well. All invites will be shared on Google Calendar. Keep that in mind. Second aspect is we talked about portfolio projects last week. So this week you should make your final submission, and we'll have a breakout session on Thursday where we'll each work in groups of 3 to offer each other feedback on our own portfolios before we do the final submission. The goal here is we want, if your portfolios have gaps, we want to give you guys feedback, and you also want to practice out what your typical Thursday session will be like. This Thursday, even though this session will be mostly based on your portfolios, but you'll get to start seeing the sort of a community sort of feeling we want to bring in on the typical Thursday workshop. What you talked about, we'll have a student-driven session. So yes, we'll have that sort of thing this Thursday where it's going to be breakout sessions, and all of you guys should be coming to that breakout session with your own portfolio, and in groups of 3s, we'll be talking about feedback. Person 1 presents, person 2 presents, person 3 presents, and we have a feedback session so that they know what to do. And so in the weekend, we'll share the final submission form, and this will cap off the end of us working on portfolio projects because we do not want to work on this again. We want to clear this before things start getting serious with React clones and AWS cloud computing. Okay, then the final thing, and this I'm telling you to all of you guys who are here, if you're struggling with Figma, I will go through key concepts just to guide those who are new to app prototyping, and additional resources will be on the LMS. So what I will have is after this call, right? Anyone who sticks behind, I'll be able to walk through Figma, project based, build a particular landing page so that you guys are able to see how we build this, just generally speaking. Because when you start working on our own projects that are not clones, you'll be expected to first of all start with a Figma prototype before you go ahead and start building whatever you're supposed to build with React or whatever any other resources you'll be using. So keep that in mind. And so I will take my time right after this workshop, if anyone sticks around with me, to go through all these Figma concepts. Second aspect is I'll also share Figma resources on Slack and on the LMS, so that if you don't want to stick behind today, we can also just you can also just learn by yourself. But if you want to have this structured guide by me right after this, you can stick around. Keep in mind, this week is the last week that you guys will be hearing this much from me. From next week, you guys will be working with different people on React, and on AWS, you'll be working with a different team as well. That's more vast on AWS computing. Okay. I don't understand you, Edna. Just come again with your question. Yeah.
Hello, like there's a way that one can create a portfolio via GitHub by creating a README. So can one use that as a portfolio?
Okay, you're talking about
or maybe you share sample website. Yes.
Yes, I think I know what you're talking about. A README is not a Yes, it's a portfolio, you could say that, but I think it would be nice if you build a very basic landing page that's more of a portfolio for yourself. It's also a way for you to showcase like your design skills, which has an impression on the employer at the end of the day. I want you to keep that in mind. Whatever design skills you share, right, on a portfolio that you've built with HTML, CSS, right, has an impression on whichever employer you end up meeting, right? So I really want you to start thinking about that. So I'm not talking about those README things which we can build in 5 minutes. I'm talking about just having a simple landing page that you can build in less than a day, so that you can, as you share with employers your skills, they can already see your design capabilities and it's easy for them to navigate. So it's usually a very, very good indicator. And this is also a way for us to kind of test out your base design so that we know if we need to guide you on additional like UI UX moving forward. I don't know that that answers your question. Okay, thank you very
Yeah,
much. That
yes.
does. So I'm not talking about a README portfolio, guys. Keep that in mind. I know how we work on README portfolios where you add in badges. I'm talking about a portfolio that we can access with a github.io link or you've deployed to your own domain if you have that or to another platform. And it does not have to be a bulky thing. It could just be a one pager where you list your portfolio projects and you link to them, where you list about yourself as well, all that kind of stuff. So it's just a minimal thing, and I think I'll share a blog that has inspiration on good web developer portfolios because it's very very essential. Whether or not you start looking for jobs, but even more essential if you end up deciding to even work on freelance jobs, that portfolio of you will speak so much value. But human resource professionals like portfolios because just by the view of it, they're able to see how well you can design stuff even before they start going through individual projects that you've built. But if you're a data scientist, I would say you don't want to build that aspect because data scientists don't work on design. So you just do your typical GitHub sort of portfolio. But for web developers, it's essential. You have a mini landing page for your projects because you should be knowing HTML, CSS anyway. Okay, awesome. So I think I've answered that question fully. Now, the final sort of results here is you guys prefer career development. I think I've been able to get that. Thank you very much for that confirmation. Anything else here that I'm missing? So we'll start out with Jesse so that we go through some career sort of topics. Those Tuesdays, it's going to be more of like an hour session. Some of them you might have guest people coming in to talk to you. So we'll try to do that for you guys as well and make sure you're able to be guided through all through. Monday, guided by TMs. Thursday, student driven sort of group sessions or breakout sessions, however you want to call them. And then Tuesdays will settle on career dev as well. But for the milestones, I think we'll just find a way for you guys to report milestones that will communicate by the Monday workshop so that everything is clear. Okay, so that's it from today's workshop. So what I'm going to ask you guys is, if you want me to take you through Figma in brief, you can stick around. If you think you're okay, feel free to leave. I think I've covered all the essentials that we needed to cover during this call. Also, I'll record the Figma sort of presentation separately.